Welcome, welcome. This is going to be a Bitcoin price update. It's 16th of January. Let me just turn the volume down. Yes, everything seems to be working good. Just to preface this, I'm not feeling too good, so that's why my nose is a bit bunged up, so my voice sounds a bit weird. So I'm going to go for as long as I can. And what I'm really going to do is share my screen, go through the charts. I'm going to go through that chart that I put together at the end of last year. And, I want to just see where we're at. My prediction was that we're going to continue to pump, that we have been, and we're probably, well, not probably, what I'm looking at is a top in, say, March time. And it could happen before, it could happen afterwards. No one knows for sure. These are just calculated guesses. And so, yeah, thanks for jumping on live. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I make these updates every day, and I go live every Friday. And yeah, let me start sharing my screen. Let's start getting into it. Okay, and by the way, if you're live and you want to ask me to look at any charts, you can just put them in the comments and I will have a look at them. Alright, so this is Bitcoin. I didn't draw these two lines in my video yesterday, but I just drew them afterwards just to see where we were at. And I'm going to make this one bigger. So let's make this a 3. Like, we broke through this level of resistance, and I would say that was a strong level, because when you look at resistance levels, it's not just, let me go on to the daily, it's not necessarily one line, it's a range, it's an area. So for me, what was key is this whole range over here. We really wanted to see that broken through, and it has. And so that's a really good sign. And from a short-term point of view, that's what everyone wants to know. Is the price going to continue to go up? Well, continue to fall rather, or continue to go up? And that's when no one knows for sure. I tried to explain this in one of my videos. When you're making predictions, the more short-term your prediction, the less accurate you'll probably be. But the more long-term your prediction, the more accurate you will be. Because if you just simply say, Bitcoin's going to continue to go up long-term, you're probably going to be 100% right, because the mathematics and the economics is on your side. Because that's what Bitcoin essentially is, this mathematics and basic economics. The supply is fixed and the demand keeps going up, so the price is only going to go up. And when you look at the economics, money printing, the game is rigged. And that's not to be mad at it, it's just to understand it. And so, yeah, I can easily just sit here and say, look, Bitcoin's going to continue to go up in price, and I'll probably 100% be right. But that's not really useful, because most people want to buy here, sell here, buy here, sell here. And, that's where it gets exciting. And this is my indicator here. You can see that this red line and green line are very close to converging. And tomorrow they will, maybe even later tonight. When that happens, that's a buy signal, basically. But from a more short-term point of view, I would say, this is still resistance over here. So I do still see, Bitcoin hitting this 100K mark and then coming back down again. But, it might just take a little bit more time. Just like over here, and I could show you many other examples. Like Bitcoin went up, come back down again, chilled for a bit, went up. And now it's kind of retracing. So a move like that is very, very possible, and that's what I see happening. But from a trend line point of view, this line of support was broken. This line of support has broken too. I'm going to leave that one there. Excuse me for the moment. I'm not going to delete that one. And in these kind of situations, it's not like there's no point in drawing another one yet. You just need more data, because I'm just going to draw that, and realistically, it will probably break through. But the good thing is we do have this level here. And so my thinking is, it's probably going to react off of this level. And so I know there's lots of lines here, but when I draw these lines, I don't draw them to, in terms of times. It's just to exaggerate what the pattern would be. And so, yeah, this is what I see playing out. We could dip a little bit lower. And this is where you have these different support and resistance levels, because if it does break this, then it could do something like this. And that's very possible too. Ultimately, we don't want it to to break this trend line. So still, I know it's bearish in the short term, but Bitcoin could fall to here and then continue to go up. And, I keep saying it, no one knows for sure. But if I was to, I definitely believe it's still on an upward trend and the things are still going to continue to go up. But, it just needs more time. I'm just having some lemon and hot water. I almost wasn't going to do this live stream today because I just felt bunged up. But it's all good. Now, when you're making these predictions, you're kind of looking for evidence to show that you're right. And that's why you look at other charts. And when you understand macroeconomics, you understand how different charts tie in together. So this chart here, I always go on about this chart on my videos, even my live streams. This is the stablecoin dominance chart. And there's a direct correlation between this and Bitcoin. If this chart goes up, the Bitcoin price goes down. If this chart goes down, the Bitcoin price goes up. It really is as simple as that. And like you can see, the different cycles. I mean, stablecoin, this chart only goes back to 2019, so I don't have the data for the previous years, but I'd imagine it was very similar to something like this. So what's basically happening is people are selling their Bitcoin and going into cash, stablecoins. And then on the way down, people are selling their stablecoins and converting them into Bitcoin. So that's what's happening here. So that's why, if you, let's do that. Let's overlay the chart, Bitcoin. So you can see here, the Bitcoin price is in red, blue, and the other chart is in, it's just a normal red and green bars. You can see direct correlation here. And even from a more local level, this is what I've been talking about. This chart, I said we had this, what I've been tracking over the last few months is this trend line here. I said, as soon as this trend line breaks, that's when it's likely Bitcoin is going to start to go up. And that's what happened. Like throughout this whole period here, the Bitcoin price was dropping. And now it's starting to come up again. And this is basic support and resistance. So the two trend lines that I'm looking at is this one here. And that's been broken. And now this is the resistance. So we don't want this to break. If this breaks, then the Bitcoin price is probably going to start to fall down again. So we don't want to see something like this. We want to see, like I drew here, and I've kept this drawing on here on purpose, the price is hit this area, and now it's on its way down. And it could hit it again. It could continue to hit it, and that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. And, my prediction is around about here, this is where the Bitcoin price is going to top out. So that'd be quite cool, like from a trading analysis point of view, if this happens. If this chart continues to trend down and then it starts to go up. And that would tie in perfectly with my theory. Like if we look at this chart here. Right, excuse me, I'm going to have to blow my nose. Let me see if I can mute the volume so you guys don't have to hear this. Oh, I hope that mute worked and you didn't hear that. It wasn't that bad anyway. Alright, so we've got, I drew this chart and I'll quickly go over it for those of you that haven't seen this before. But this is basically Bitcoin tracked over the different cycles. And the way I've broken it down is, and this isn't an exact science, this, I always joke, trading analysis is astrology for dudes. And so I've only done it from 2013, 2012. So after every halving, we normally enter the bull run. Sometimes it takes a while for it to kick off. It's not like the halving happens and then Bitcoin pumps immediately. You can look over here, we can measure that. We had the halving, and there's still a couple of months before, things took off. And then the next one, it was even longer. It was, good, I would say 3 months, and then it started to kick off. And then in the more recent cycle, 2020, 21, again, kind of like 2-3 months. And then, over here, this has been a bit of a strange cycle because we haven't had the blow off top. But, the price is going up, and it took just under 3 months for it to start taking off. So the pattern is pretty clear. You have the halving, and then we enter the bull market. And then when we have a few blow off tops, and then we enter the bear market. And you can see over here in this one, we topped out at $1,240, and then we bottomed out at $165. You could argue that this is a drop as well, but to fit my pattern, and that's what we're essentially doing here. We're looking for evidence to fit our patterns. So we have a bear market for a period, and that's normally at least a year or so. And then we have these two phases here, which could be, you could drag them into one, but I just wanted to have 4 phases just to fit my model. You have the accumulation phase when you start buying again. And then you have the transition phase, which is the next step before the bull market. And then you see over here, we have the halving, and then we have another bull market. We go from, say, $600 all the way up to $1,980, and then we enter the bear market again. And it seems brutal, but it's not that bad. Like, even if you just hold, like you bought here at 600, and then you're just holding, it goes down to 3,000. But we have the benefit of hindsight. It just keeps on going up, and so we want to, just be realistic here. Yeah, it's great to buy the tops and buy the bottoms, but no one does that on a consistent basis. You might get lucky. And so it's the same pattern: bull market, bear market, accumulation phase, transition phase. And then again in 2020, 2021, bull market, bear market, accumulation and transition phase. Now they all look a little bit different, but they kind of fit into this model that I've created here. And, again, it's not an exact science, it's just something that I've put together which makes sense to me. Or rather, what I want to make sense to me. And so, you can see that the timings are different, the sizes of the pumps are different, the lengths, like that's a 3,000% gain, this is only 700, this is 10,000. So the amount of gain is getting lower and lower. And if we look at the more recent run, we've only had 109% increase from the halving date. And so, we're kind of spoiled as Bitcoiners, right? Where's our 10,000% gain? Where's our even 1,000% gain, or even 500? We don't mind if it doesn't hit 700, but we at least want a 500, 4 to 500x, 4 to 500% gain. And the dangerous thing is us deluding ourselves, because this could happen. This could be it. And so the two scenarios in my head at the moment are, we've already topped out, and now we're in the bear market. And so, you look for evidence, really. And so for this bear market to be confirmed, we need to bounce off of here. Let me draw that a bit better. We need to bounce off of this trend line and then continue to fall down. If that happens, then, you can't deny it. We're in a bear market. And for it to not be a bear market, what we really want to see is the opposite. We want to see this blue trend line here broken. And I'm going to make this bigger as well so it stands out. So we need price to really break through and do that. And then I will say, yeah, we're definitely in the bull market. And, the price targets I've got is anywhere in between here. And, I know it's not a cop-out, but no one knows. No one knows. When you have a blow-off top like this, no one knows what's going to happen. Even if we're in a bear market, no one knows how low it's going to go. Because in the last bear market, no one ever thought we would go lower than the previous all-time high. Like when it was 30k, it was kind of a given it was going to hit 20k, but no one ever dared thought that it was going to go lower than the previous all-time high, because it hasn't done that before. And if you look at the previous cycles, even when Bitcoin tanks, it doesn't go lower than the previous high. And so that's, people, I guess, get complacent. And this is where market makers, they know to catch us out. And so right now we're in a bit of a bull trend. We're in an uptrend. But yeah, this is what I'm keeping a close eye on. And again, no one knows for sure. We've just got to, take it step by step and see. And then, look for evidence to support your thesis. Now, this is just from a Bitcoin charting point of view. But when you look at the economy as a whole, like no one can say we're in a bear market. Like if you are, then you really don't understand economics. Because, yeah, the US dollar has started to trend up. That's not the end of the world. That's probably why there's been a bit of price pressure on Bitcoin. But, this chart here, the reverse repos, let's stretch this out. Right, now this is in danger of creeping up, and it didn't. So I can delete this safely. Don't mirror strategy on it, and it's come back down again, and that's good. So this is a really good indicator because this is money parked at the Fed by big banks and institutions. And so when this chart goes up, this means that they're taking money out of the markets and they're actively being coy, they're being more cautious. And so in the last bear market, I was tracking this, every day. And I was saying to people, until this chart starts falling, there's no point in getting excited. And then it started to fall. This is in December 2023, August 2023 actually. And that's why I was like, look, this is very meaningful. And if you understand economics and the bigger picture, something's about to happen. And guess what? Everything pumped. And what was scary a couple of weeks ago is that it spiked up quite a lot. And I didn't want it to trend up again because that means the run's definitely over. And it has come back down again. So that's good. And so we just basically don't want this chart to stay here at the bottom for as long as possible because it has pretty much been drained out. I mean, there's 2 billion left in this account. And even if they do move this onto the markets, it's probably not going to do anything. And so what I want to see happen is that my Bitcoin top is around about here. So what I want to see happen is for this chart to just chill out around about here and then it starts to go up. That'd be perfect. And then, we can all take our profits and chill out and wait for the next run. And, all right, I was talking about macro stuff, and that is a macro chart. But look at these. This is the S&P 500. Like back in April, I remember I was on a client call, and I said, look, this is just a fake out. Like, don't panic. Things are going to pump from here. And we literally had a meeting on one of these dates when the price was down around about here. And then I said, look, what's very likely to happen, because I understand economics, is that there's going to be a V reversal out of this. And that's exactly what's played out. Right, let me just blow my nose again, excuse me. Yeah, thanks for that. All right, so this is we'll chart these properly, but we'll just quickly flick through them. This is the S&P 500, pretty much at all-time highs. Dow Jones, same thing, pretty much at all-time highs. Nasdaq, same thing. This is good. The Russell. So if you've been following my drawings, and you saw that this is my target, and it has hit this target. And this is a good one because for those of you that don't understand the Russell 2000, this is like the S&P 500 for normal small businesses. Because really, S&P 500 is all the big people like Apple, Amazon, Google, and they're not really a fair reflection of the market because let's be real, if the economy tanks, people are going to still want their iPhones. So Apple's still going to do reasonably well. But the Russell 2000, on the other hand, if the economy tanks, people are panicking. These are real businesses, small businesses that, haven't got big banks or big cash reserves to rely on. So it's been a good sign that this has somewhat recovered and it's broken this trend line here. And so my next target for this would be at least round about here. And if this coincides with my theory about Bitcoin blow off top, we could have something like this. And it's also worth noting that once Bitcoin actually finally tops out, it sometimes takes a couple of weeks for alts to really ramp up. And so this run could extend till, say, April-ish, where Bitcoin tops out, but then it kind of hangs out here for a while, and then it falls. And so, we could have some kind of topping pattern like that, and then it starts to fall down. So going back to economics, I mean, this is the UK chart, and that's just pretty insane as well. And so, gold, silver, it's just all gone crazy. Like, it is pretty insane. US oil is being propped up, that's good. Natural gas, that's falling. So the economy is very bullish. And Ray Dalio, he's the investment expert. He's a good guy to listen to. He talked about how they're going to print money. They're easing into a bubble, and so they are printing money into a bull run, essentially, and there's probably going to be some kind of blow off top before some kind of big crash, and that's what I'm looking at, and that's what a lot of other people I know are looking at. And I also want to, the main message in this video is not to panic. And, things are still looking good. My indicator is probably going to flip bullish tomorrow. And what we really want to see is Bitcoin to just at least stay in these channels, even if it comes down to 89k again. That's not the end of the world. But, we just want to see it to maintain good chart action. I want to go over Monero as well, because this chart has been a really interesting chart, and I have talked about this over the years and even in more recent times. This is a really good chart. Like, this isn't like any other altcoins. You have had some pullbacks, but it's been really good from a technical analysis point of view. Like, we had a bit of a pump here to 400, then it came back down to, say, 250, I think even a little bit lower. 230. And then, it just found support and it just kept on going. Like, this is good price action. If you look at, like, a lot of alts, let me find a good example. Let's look at SHIB, because this has been very disappointing in this cycle. Like, this is what you don't want to see. You don't want to see, ranging in a big blow off top, and then it just comes back down again, and it ranges for a long time, blow off top, back down, blow off top. That's what it's just been doing, and it really is just in a downtrend. And so if you're in this coin, like, we've had a more recent little pump, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to come down here again. Because this, again, it follows the principles of support and resistance. So my point being, we don't want Bitcoin to just go straight up like this, because that's not a good looking chart. Technically, it's just not healthy. We do want Bitcoin to take its time like it's doing. And that is a good thing. Like, even here, we can probably play around with this a little bit. So look, alts probably will go crazy. Are all of them going to go crazy? I think they'll probably take it in turns. Like the Zcash. If there's anyone in the comments, if you want me to look at any charts, just let me know. But Zcash is looking okay. We had a bit of a scare here, and it's sitting on support at the moment. So anyone watching live, if you want me to look at any charts in particular, I'm probably going to stay on for another 5 minutes or so. Just let me know, then I can look. yeah, see, this isn't that great either from virtuals because it had a nice pump up. Again, support and resistance, but this is still a bullish pattern. This is what we call a bullish falling channel, sorry. So the price has come up and it's just compressing in these bands and then it pumps up again. So yeah, I would say this is good. And it kind of depends. And this is where Monero has been interesting because Monero hasn't followed the trend. If the Bitcoin price has been crashing, Monero is its own asset. So I would really class Monero as its own asset class now. I mean, when crypto does start to fall, this probably will fall a bit, but it's not as correlated as it used to be, like in previous runs. So that is really interesting. Like even in this last run, it's carved out a really nice bottom, and it's just, it's been very gradual. Yeah, you've had a few spikes in between. But yeah, just like gold and silver and, they're all their own asset classes, so is Monero now. And for those of you who don't know, Monero is a privacy coin. It's a true privacy coin. I'll make other videos on this on my other channel. But Bitcoin is a transparency coin. It is a surveillance coin. Let me flip my camera. So Bitcoin is not private. It's designed that way. It's not a fault. But if you understand it, then you can really protect yourself, because as Bitcoin goes up in value, it's very enticing for hackers and thieves. And so, for them, there's a pretty good risk to reward ratio there. They can hack someone and get a few Bitcoin, and that's a pretty good payday. And so this is where it's dangerous on Bitcoin, because on Bitcoin you can track everything. Like if someone's moved 10 Bitcoin or 100 Bitcoin, you can see. You don't know who it is, but with the right research, you can probably find out who it is. And so that's what these, with AI as well, becoming even more sophisticated. That's a dangerous thing that a lot of people don't realize. If you have a decent amount of Bitcoin sitting around, you do want to protect yourself the right way. Like have hardware wallets, have proper backups. And I do teach that on my other channel. So I'll put a link below. I've got a video explaining how to do that, how I buy Bitcoin, how I take my clients through buying Bitcoin. And yeah, I wasn't going to mention it, but it just seems relevant right now because, people don't realize Bitcoin is a surveillance coin. If you go on the blockchain and you really know you can figure out how to analyze it. There's videos teaching you how to do it. And, it takes a bit of time, but you can figure out who moved out Bitcoin. You can find out where they work. You can find out where they live. And people, that's what's happened to people. Like you've heard of reports of people, having their bodies found in the desert. And so, one of the best things you can do is if you have Bitcoin, just don't tell anyone. And that's what I say to people. If people ask you, do you have any Bitcoin, just say, no, I should have bought some. And so, I would say that's definitely good to know. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there. But thanks for tuning in. And I'm still short-term bullish. I would say I'm medium-term bullish as well, but long-term. Actually, no, that's let me re-explain that. Long-term, I'm always bullish because the price is always going to go up. But I'd say short-term, I'm bullish. Medium-term, I'm bearish because I think we're going to have another blow off top, and then we're going to enter the bear market, and then we're going to, just enter those other transitions that I was talking about: the transition phase, accumulation phase, and transition phase. And so if you don't know how to trade, just buy and hold. Honestly, it's the best strategy, less stressful strategy. You can focus on playing with your kids, making more money, and using that money to invest in Bitcoin or anything else. And thanks for watching, people. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you in tomorrow's update. Thank you.